My name is Dawn Adams. I'd like to show a progression of a painting, and I'm starting with laying in the colors. This is a painting of a lake, small lake in Michigan. Early morning, the sun's coming up. And it's a nice image because there's going to be a lot of color variety. It goes through golds into blues and even purples. And there's a big variety also of value. I like that it gives you a sense of place and time, this image, and it's a relatively straightforward composition, so it's going to move along pretty quickly, and that's nice too when things come together quickly for you, and it still is very effective. The first thing I'd like to do is lay in the colors and get the painting covered with paint so that we have a good feel of what the image might end up looking like. And if it starts out well that way, it's a good omen for the finished painting. There are several techniques. I like to work in layers. So this first pass through laying in the colors just is going to be sort of the basement, and I'm going to be putting glazes and techniques on the surface of this. And for some of those techniques I'll need to lay down the painting to do that. After the image is sort of laid in and blended out, I like to keep the edges sort of soft so that if I need to, I can make a differentiation, have some edges sharper than others. The painting has sort of been laid out. I'm doing a little bit of fine-tuning on this lower level, and here's the base level to start with. I'm going to start working on some of those unusual techniques. I like to do a sissing or resist technique that involves linseed oil and a thin layer of paint and mineral spirits. So I've laid the linseed oil. It's very shiny right now, and I'm doing some sponging of the glaze layer on the surface. And now I'm splattering mineral spirits over that, and the paint crawls away from where the mineral spirits land and makes little rings. It's a texture that is going to add some atmosphere to the top part of that painting. I'm also going to do a true glaze with some translucent paints. That's sap green and permanent rose. And I'm going to mix up, it's going to be a nice warm neutralish brown color. I use liquid as my medium, and that'll help it dry. The linseed oil is going to retard the drying, but the mineral spirits and the liquid will make it dry a little quicker. So there are the glazes going in there and blending it out. So another version of that sissing technique is going to be with brush marks. This brush has some mineral spirits in it, and you can see how there's a striping that's already starting to happen. I'll go in a little bit later with bigger marks, and you can see here how the paint has crawled away from the lines that the mineral spirit lines that I put in there. I have to blend in some more, keeping it nice and soft. I want to be able to pull out my sharper areas later and let some areas lay back. I like to paint water. I'm doing a whole series of images on water. Here are my combs. They're made out of erasers. And as you see the comb going through the paint, it squeegees away lines and creates taller lines or deeper striping colors. And I'm working on a white, and I've got sort of a more russet color on the other side of the white. There's a fine-tuning that happens after you've worked on all these times where you've got the painting flat. It's really hard to see what you're doing or how it ends up looking like, so you have to, in this case I brought up some of the highlights in the front and I worked a little bit more in the middle to blend it out. This painting is called Glow.